OpenAI reportedly surpassing 1 million paid users for corporate versions of ChatGPT, signaling growing demand from businesses for its chatbot despite competition from other AI players. And this coming after news that a new round of funding for OpenAI, led by Thrive Capital, could value the company at over $100 billion. For more, we're bringing in Geoff Lewis, founder and managing partner at Bedrock, which has among its investments OpenAI. Geoff, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So what do you make of that latest sort of metric on the in terms of the million users on the business side? And what do you see as the sort of growth trajectory for something like an AI, particularly when it comes to business users?
Feels like it's really still just starting out at this point. So obviously a really impressive milestone. The revenue numbers under the hood are frankly even more impressive. Obviously can't share specifics given we are large early investors under NDA, but was publicly reported in June that OpenAI was at a north of $3 billion, around a $3.4 billion revenue run rate, grown significantly, of course, since then. For really a business that's only been a business for less than 2 years, I think it's easy to forget that ChatGPT launched less than 2 years ago. This organization has only been monetizing for under 2 years. And so the million user metric is great. The revenue metrics are great. Truly just getting started. I don't think we've ever seen growth like this in under 2 years. It's pretty exceptional.
Geoff, let me ask you, I had a chat with a buddy of mine today. Like you, Geoff, smart guy, like you, he thinks a lot about tech, like you, he's in Texas. And he said, he would invest in OpenAI, and I thought that was interesting. I asked him why, and he said there's a number of reasons, he said. And one is, though, he was curious about what exactly is this company's moat at this point. And his point was he gave the company a lot of credit for helping to create this market, helping to create a sense of excitement and urgency around the market, Geoff. But now his point was, Google's in, Microsoft's in with their own models, AWS, and just the gap is narrowing, he said, at this kind of accelerating pace. It felt to him like an uncomfortable position for Sam Altman to be in. Your thoughts, Geoff, on that argument, just as an early investor?
Certainly the gap has narrowed. So I acknowledge the gap with the current models that they have in the market today versus some of the competitors. The gap has actually narrowed. That is true. I think whoever you were chatting with, who's not an investor in OpenAI, and I think I have a guess of who that was, I don't think they're an investor in any of these AI LLM companies. The gap is going to widen significantly when you see what they've got coming next. And so I think there is a moat around tech. There also are lots of extraordinarily valuable technology companies that really just don't have any technology moat at all. They have a distribution moat, they have a brand moat. And I think you have a situation with OpenAI where beyond the tech moat, which I think you're going to see in the coming quarters, they're going to regain in a pretty profound way. I have high confidence in that. Beyond that, though, I think they have a brand moat. They have a distribution moat. I think the partnership with Microsoft, as well as the forthcoming partnership with Apple, as well as other partnerships they've been reported in terms of integrations, really give them an advantage versus the competitors. That said, there are players like specifically Anthropic, that are just extraordinarily aggressive on trying to really come after OpenAI's lead. And so we should be watching that very, very closely at this point, Anthropic specifically.
Hey, Geoff, you want to give us a hint about what's coming? You've referred to it a couple times that you're very excited about what's coming. I mean, if you can't tell us exactly what's coming, where is the differentiation tech-wise going to come? Right? You said these other companies have brands. Microsoft, obviously well-known, very entrenched with business customers. Is it just like you get better answers? It interacts better? What's the, now that the leap has been made that it exists and people interact with it, what's the next leap look like?
Yeah, I really want to be able to tell you. Unfortunately, I know how lame and cringe it is to not answer the question, but I'm under an extremely strict NDA, and unlike that Texas gentleman, I don't want to lose the shares that we at Bedrock have in this company. So I'm not going to violate the NDA to give a good talking point on Yahoo News. I'm so sorry, but I would love to.
Well, next time, Geoff, we'll try again. What does, Geoff, I'm curious, as an investor, what does an exit look like for you?
I mean, look, I think this is a company that'll probably be private for some time. If you look at a business like SpaceX, that's been a private company for at this point I think coming up on 23 or even 24 years, or maybe 22 years or something. And you as an investor or an early employee at SpaceX can get liquidity on a quarterly basis through a tender offer process. OpenAI, I imagine the same will be true for many years to come. I'm sure they've been running tender offers, they've done a few of these. I imagine they're going to continue to do those on a semi-frequent basis. There's going to be liquidity there for folks. But at Bedrock, we hope to hold OpenAI for over a decade from here. So hopefully, knock on wood, there's not an IPO for a long time, because I think a lot of value can accrue in the private markets. But if you just zoom out, if it was a public company today, I think the public would value OpenAI at far higher than $100 billion. And so, there's all this talk of that seems crazy, $100 billion. But if you ask sort of a person at a shopping mall on their iPhone what ChatGPT was worth, they would probably think it must be like $1 trillion, or it must be like $100 billion or something. So the valuation in the context of the public, I think, if it was a public company, might be a much higher valuation today.
Geoff, with so many, OpenAI is obviously not the only privately held company. You mentioned SpaceX. To see these huge increases in valuation, from a VC perspective, are you seeing any starving on the lower end of the ecosystem? Because there are so many. I mean, forget about the unicorns, decacorns, whatever you want to call them at this point. Does that mean that the more innovative, smaller ideas are not getting the attention that they need?
Well, the innovative, phenomenal ideas are getting attention. The problem we have is there are just so many crap companies. There are hundreds of thousands of crap companies that were way overfunded. Most VCs, this is not any profound insight, are horrible investors. Most VCs are really just marketers and salespeople, and separate institutions and pension funds and endowments and sovereign wealth funds from their money and blow it all on networking events. That's kind of 90% of the VC industry. And, they're going to all blow themselves up, which is fine with us at Bedrock. But unfortunately, so many crap companies were so overfunded over the last cycle. And it's going to be a long unwinding. It's going to take a long time for these horrible companies, these horrible investments to go bankrupt or get acqui-hired or go out of business. But it's going to be a long, slow, painful unwinding for the VC industry. And most VCs will be, they'll revealed for just being sort of marketing people, not
Geoff,
investors.
Geoff, a final question. I feel like I remember you once saying, Geoff, correct me if I'm wrong, that in real estate it was location, 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 and with venture investing it's founder, founder, founder. And I'm curious, when you first decided Bedrock was going to invest in OpenAI, how much of it, Geoff, was about Sam Altman and just your faith and confidence in him, his leadership, his execution?
It was 100%. I didn't, frankly, I've learned since that folks like Ilya, who started now his own venture, excited for him. Greg Brockman, who's with OpenAI today, currently on a leave of absence, but still with the company. Other folks there played a key role as well, but the only person I knew before we invested was Sam. It was 100% our view on Sam as an entrepreneur, and our start point and end point at Bedrock is the entrepreneur. That is what we underwrite here.
Geoff, always great to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks for having me.